As you're creating your Photoshop files, you can end up with a lot of layers. For example, in this file, I'm starting to get quite a stack over in the Layers palette, and we can organize them into groups. There are some great advantages to having groups. One way you can create a group is to come down to the bottom of the Layers palette, and you'll see a little folder icon just to the left of the trash can icon. If you click on that, that will create a new group. You can then drag one or more layers into the group just by dragging it on top, and you'll notice that it has become indented. And when I click on the disclosure triangle, I can open or close that group. I can also double click on the group and give it a name. So on these we have various pieces that would logically go together here. So for example, these three are my background layers. I can save having to drag them in by selecting the layers first. I'm going to click on the bottom one and then shift click on the top one to select all three. Then I can press the new group icon and they have been automatically put into that group. I'll rename this one Background, and I'll turn it off for a moment. So these pieces could all go together into a group. I can shift click on the bottom of those and select all of them. If they're taking up too much room, this little up and down triangle by the effects over on the left will hide or show the effects that I've applied for those layers. And I can right mouse button click and say group from layers, and then I can give the group a name as well. The fourth way is I can just drag selected layers down to the group icon and they'll become a group. So that's 4 quick different ways that you can create groups and organize them. I'll turn the background layer back on. Alright, let's show you how this image is constructed. If I hold my Option key down and click on the visibility icon, that will turn off all the other layers. So this is the background. Still holding down my Option key, I'll click on this one. This is the first part of the fractal. I did some clouds over the top, little center stripe with a rainbow, kind of a background circle, first part of a jewel, and a little inside jewel, a smaller inside jewel, and then some flares over the top. Now if I right mouse button click on the visibility icon, I can show or hide all the other layers and get them back. Anyway, show you one more way, the shortcut way to group things together. So I'm going to select all the background information and I'm going to press Command and G. It would be Control G on a PC, and that will group all those together, and then I can give them a name by double clicking on the name, and then everything to do with the jewel, Command G or Control G again. There I have organized them. Once I have groups created, I can right mouse button click on the visibility icon and I can give them labels if I wish. I can move layers. Well, if I show the disclosure icon, I can look at the layers inside and I can control what I do to individual layers Let's say I wanted to change the hue on this one. I could go Command U, bring up the hue saturation dialog, and I could change the hue of this particular layer only. If I wanted to change the hue of everything in that layer, I can use that same command by putting a hue saturation adjustment layer here, and it will change the hue of everything inside. Going to delete that by pressing delete. I can move groups just like I can move layers. So you notice that everything in this group is sitting on top of everything in the other group there. I can also nest groups inside of other groups. So if I drag this background folder into the Joule folder, it has been placed inside that, and then I can move it up and down the layer stack. Inside, you'll notice that it's indented just a little bit further. So you have a lot of control over what you do. I'm going to pull that back out. You can add a mask to an entire group. If I paint on that mask, it pokes a hole through the entire group of layers as well. So groups are very powerful. You can use many of the Photoshop commands and functions with a group that you can with an individual layer. Okay, let me show you what I've done with this image. I started out with background image of a gloomy forest, and on top of that I've overlaid a picture of a boy, and if I hold my shift key down I can turn off that mask and show you what the picture looked like. Turn the mask back on. If I hold my option key down and click, you can see how I've masked the boy into the forest. Then I added a gradient map over the top, and then I created a composite of everything below, and so I don't need these layers down here. Then I've got 5 small images of fathers and sons. So I'm going to group those together. Command G. And the purpose of this video is to show you that I can do effects and things like that, layer effects on entire groups. So, for example, if I just clicked on this one, I could come and say, I'd like to do a stroke, a black stroke on the inside. And down here at the bottom you can see that stroke being added to the image. Well, I'd like to do that to all 5 images, and so rather than work on each one separately, I'm going to add the effect to the group. So I'll put a stroke effect on the inside with black, and as I increase the number, you can see that happening to the entire group. Let's jump over to Inner Shadow, and so you can see how we can work with entire groups as well. Now if I open that up, I can drag that effect by grabbing the word effect. I can drag and drop it on an individual one, and if I hold the Option key down, I can add that effect or a copy of that effect to each layer if I want, and you can see the difference between doing it for the entire group and doing it for each individual layer. So now that's taking up a lot of room in the layers palette. I can close those groups by clicking on the disclosure triangle. Or if I want to hide just the effects on everything, I can shift click on all of those and click on the up arrow by the effects icon. Anyway, that's a powerful tool, knowing that you can work both with layers or with groups, with effects, masks, and adjustment layers that add so much power to what you're able to do. To finish this off, I would probably add a title like "Put Color in Your Boy's World, Give Him the Gift of Time," or something along that line. Lastly, I'd like to stress the importance of giving every layer a name so you can keep track of what your layers are doing. So if I needed to make an adjustment to just this layer, I know which one it is by looking at its name. I don't have to flip through every single layer. That's so important when you're working with documents that have numbers of layers. That will save you so much time in the long run, even though it takes a moment or two to name each layer. Please do that on all your assignments. Name every layer so I know and understand what you're trying to do and what your layers represent.